Start streaming, okay.
Now it started.
Okay,
That's
live
equivalent
up.
to what is happening.
Are we starting?
Okay, okay.
Okay. I think the mic is off.
Yeah. So let's see. Starting soon.
So,
Relax.
So that's the first thing that our users would hear. What man looking at? Situation specific.
so are we live?
Yes, we are live.
I'll write. This on the podcast. I'll write it down.
मतलब इतने बात को नहीं
When I think about it, I'll write it down and pass it
I was watching okay.
I think you should mute your mic. Mute your laptop. Or it will be echo.
Did that mute the microphone?
Yeah, so welcome to UI5 Community Network broadcast. So you can use this comment section of the Facebook to ask us any question. In this broadcast, we are going to answer some of the questions which we have been asked in our courses in platform. And we have some of the very good known people with us, all the instructors are with us. So we have Ved. Ved is a co-founder of like our Vibrance app, and he is also instructing the node.js course, which will be coming live soon. And we have Vipul with us. Vipul is co-founder of IoT.com, and he's shooting the Hack the Arduino course, which will be also live soon. And we have Manasvi with us. Manasvi is co-founder of Vibrance app also, and he, I think the course of angular.js is created by Manasvi. And in this broadcast, we are going to take a lot of questions. So we will start with first few questions which have been asked by people. And I think few questions which we have been asked are mostly about UI5 JavaScript framework, some of the IoT questions. Once we answer those questions, we will have a small tech war also. So we have all the instruments with us. So I think it will be a fun event as well. And at the end, we will do prediction for like 2017. What are the technologies to learn? How the scenarios will go on. So let's start with the discussion. So some of the questions which have been asked is very interesting. So the first question which was asked by Sampath. And it was asked in UI5, and JavaScript is based on Angular.js and also JavaScript. So the question is, in Fury application, when using XML views, I want to save the state between two tabs. Could you please tell me how to do it? I use $scope in Angular.js. So, tell us a little more about $scope in AngularJS if people are unaware about it. Yeah.
So, well, $scope is an object in AngularJS which kind of binds things between view and your controller. So, when I say view, it is what you see in your browser, and when I see controller, it is the logic that's going on behind it. So, $scope is what binds data between the view and the controller, and that's how user can interact with the web page, make it do whatever it should be doing.
So it's like a director and actor, and there's a script between them.
Yeah, you can say it is something like that. That would be kind of a similar analogy.
Yes, exactly.
So who is director and who is actor here?
So director would be the controller, the actor would be the view that you see there, and the instructions that the way they interact with each other, that would be scope.
So basically, what happens in UI5, we have concept of model. So what happens now? You have a JavaScript front end application, and there are some elements we have, and the elements should be binded with the data. So for example, if I have an input,
Yes.
so there should be something which is binded, linked to that input,
Linked,
so it can
particular.
show, okay, in name or something like that. So the concept of model come, the data we call as a model. So in this scenario, what happens when we kind of link this input to a data, which we are calling as a model, which is in the UI. So now what is happening nowadays? All the processing, most of them are done in the front end, like no in browser, and then we are not using much of server. So like most of the things are done in front end. So this model, for example, Sampath is asking that how I want to, when I switch between two tabs. For example, you have a application, there are two tabs, and then if I just switch between tabs, I need to have same data linkage. So generally, what can be done? You have a model, and then you link the same two elements between those two tabs into those two elements in the tabs can be linked to a simple singular model. So that whenever you are changing data here, the model is reflected,
Reflected there.
and then the second tab also.
Okay, so for your application, the browser would maintain that data.
Yeah, I think it's a two-way binding
Exactly.
concept. So in UI5, basically, you can by default the binding, data binding. For example, this element is linked with this data model,
Okay.
and then when this is linked, then whenever I change the input here, suddenly my model changes, and then like
Okay.
automatically that is called two-way. So even if I change the model, my input will change.
Will
So two-way.
change.
So that is how, like, you can like link two inputs or different elements in the tabs to a similar model, and then those can be reflected. If you change once, you will also find their changes. So there's like linkage between. So normally, like why normally people do two-way binding is, for example, you have a form, and that form has a lot of input fields and all. So by changing one input field, the reflected, you can see the changes in entire app. So therefore, two-way binding is like very important to see the response.
Yeah, I think there's another example. So in Facebook or in Twitter also, if you use hashtag or you use @, so at that point, the suggestions would come up exactly at the same moment. So that's another example of two-way binding.
Even if you Google something, like
Yeah,
as
without
soon as you
Google
start
suggestions.
typing, you start getting the suggestions that
Yeah.
are related to those keywords.
Yeah, exactly. I think one other thing which I was experiencing when I was using two-way binding is that initially I was very confused to use two-way bindings and all, because it was not happening for me. So the idea is that if you are in UI5, specifically talking to UI5, if you are not properly set up the two-way binding, it should be done on idle cases. But if it is not happening, that means you have not set up the two-way binding properly. So you bind the element in a like UI5 world. We have elements like input element or text box or button something. You bind the element with the model with set model function, and then that model can be a JSON model, JSON data. And then if it is properly bound to the element, then I think the reflection will happen.
I think in AngularJS there's a similar concept going on. So we use dirty watching in that.
Yeah, we use dirty watching that runs as a part of digest loop, and whenever there is some change in data, it is automatically reflected throughout the app.
Yeah. So,
So-
in that case also you need to be careful because the variables should be watched directly and the digest cycle should run at the perfect time.
Yes.
Yes. So the next question which we were asked was by Mayank. I think Mayank is like a very active students in our platform. So the one of the question which is like very common here as well, like in a UI5 course, is difference between Open UI5 and SAP UI5. So you are from open source world. So we are mainly the new course of Mean Stack is open source. Even Arduino is open source.
yeah.
So first time I think we have something open source from SAP, that is Open UI5. So the question was coming, look, what is the difference between Open UI5 and SAP UI5? So from UI5 perspective, what I can say is there are two versions for this application. So the UI5 application has two versions. So like one is open source, one is like paid. You have to have any licensing key of any SAP product, like you might have ERP or you might have gateway, then you can use SAP UI5. At that point of time, legally you are allowed to use SAP UI5 JavaScript framework. Or else, if you want to freely use any JavaScript library, then you can use OpenUI5. So it comes under Apache 2 license, and you don't need any one to pay any money for using OpenUI5. There are few libraries which are missing in OpenUI5 compared to SAP UI5, but mostly almost all the libraries are present. Visualization library are mostly in SAP UI5.
So performance-wise, both the libraries, both open.
Yeah, they are almost I think same. So the core of the things are almost same, but there's some additional elements which is given in SAP UI5.
Okay.
So, and the next question which we'll take is from maybe let's have some IoT world. There are some questions which is asked by Shubhojit in IoT as well. So mostly we have the expert with us, the co-founder of IoT Intercom. So I think now we are seeing a lot of IoT in the marketplace, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of discussion of smart cities and so many startups on IoT. And basically, what the question is, what we are doing courses, we are using sensor data, photo sensor in Arduino,
Okay.
and Arduino is connected to Raspberry Pi, and then that is connected to a backend which is storing the data.
Okay.
So the question he's asking, like, what is the limitation of this number of sensors which we can place in Arduino?
Okay, if you are trying to connect the sensors with the Arduino, so there means first you need to find out like which kind of sensor you are using. There are some sensors which contains the means which give you the raw data, and there are some other sensors which process the data and then it give to the control unit. So first I'll take the example of a raw sensor as you talk about the photo sensor. So photo sensor, the value changes depend on the light which the photo sensor is receiving. We
Okay.
can compare it with our solar panels, like when the light will fall on the solar panel, it will generate the voltage. So on the same principle, our photo sensors used to work. So whenever at the junction light will fall, so it will generate the voltage, and it will directly proportional to the intensity of the light which is falling on that one.
Okay.
So the data which is coming out of that photo sensor is the raw data. It is the analog value which will be changing real time basis, mean which will be changing every time. At
Okay.
every moment of time, the value will change. It is not hard coded 0 and 1 bits. So that type of data we called as a raw data. And we have some 6 analog to digital converter inbuilt in the Arduino,
Okay.
in the microcontroller.
How much? 6 to
6
Okay, yeah.
analog to digital converters. So we can get that analog data on those particular pins, and we can convert it into the digital
I think there's
and we,
A0,
after that we can,
A9 pins are there.
yes,
right?
A0 to A5, those are the
A5,
so,
yeah.
so on that pins we can connect that
Sensor.
sensor which is giving us raw data. Now we can take an example of another sensor which is processing the data and giving us a bit streams. So it can be connected to the control unit via any interface.
So what is this bitstream? Like, no.
It is a means bit stream which is generated on the basis of real time data. So if let's take an example of a PIR sensor on or means temperature sensor, and we are creating a matrix of the real time world, and on the basis of that one we are taking the data. So the matrix will be converted into will be processed at the sensor level itself, and it will be converted into the bit stream.
Okay. So that is like digital
Data.
Light stream.
So that bit stream will be given to the control unit for further processing and for controlling the different actuators and other triggering and all those. So that interface can be provided via different means, like we can use either UART to get the data from the sensor, and we can use SPI interface, or we can use I2C interface. So UART and SPI has the limitation like we can have only one master and the slave device, but if we are using I2C interface, so it can have n number of devices, like we can connect n number of devices depending on the address bits of that particular.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I2C.
basically what you're saying that it depends on what is the connection, how you're connecting to it.
Yes.
And you can also have like 100 or 200 sensors connected to one Arduino.
Yes.
But you said there are only 6 analog to digital converters, right?
Yeah, so that is the first we need to find out what kind of sensor I'm using.
Okay,
Is it
so-
giving me the raw data,
Okay.
the real time data, which is analog signal, which is continuously changing at each and every moment of time, or we are getting the bit streams?
Yeah.
Okay. So
if
if it's only analog, I mean, if it's giving you
raw data, then we can hook up maximum 6 because we have
Six.
limitation of only 6 analog to
Okay.
digital converters,
And
which
if
is
it's
inbuilt.
and if it is giving you bit stream,
Then yeah, if the sensor supports I2C interface, then we can go up to numbers like to each slave we will give
But-
the address, and that if the address is 8 bits, then the combination of 8s we can have.
Okay, so basically you are
Okay.
giving address. Okay, you are writing that in the Arduino ID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then based on how you are connecting, you can really scale up the number of sensors. But from a voltage standpoint of view, will your like Arduino able to power all these sensors?
We can give power to all the means all the slaves also. It is
Yeah,
not
so
necessary to
slaves-
get the power, all the
Okay,
power
okay,
from
okay.
the Arduino. Arduino is not the power source, it is a control unit. So we
Yeah.
can power up all the slaves separately, and
Separately.
we'll link it
Okay.
via I2C interface.
But then, like this is on a theoretical standpoint. But ideally, like from you have worked on many use cases.
Yes.
Ideally, on an Arduino, how many how many sensors for a use case? How many you use? 3, 4, 10. How many numbers?
Yes.
Experience level, you know.
Means I have used, means if I'll say the sensors which are giving me raw data, I have used up to 6, and I have connected 10 Arduinos via I2C interface. So the means up to that level I have tested it and it's worked perfect.
then
Okay.
Arduinos and each has 6 raw sensors, so 60 sensors.
Yes, yes. I think, but just for
Means, yeah,
now,
it's a kind of integration. We can integrate and multiply the things. And,
Yeah, yeah.
Lego blocks.
yeah.
yeah, basically for a use case also, people who are new to Arduino and all, so if they are using a single Arduino, at max 6 sensors can be connected. So basically it depends on circuit diagram also how they're connecting it. Okay, so it was like 6 is the answer, lucky number, and then but theoretically you can have as many as you can. So the next question is for asked by, which is actually very good question, which was asked in our UI5 course, and also like same question was asked in the Angular course. So like in Angular we have MV star model. So
Yes.
this is more about MVC architecture of.
Yeah.
So in UI5 we have MVC architecture. So people want to understand that when they are using MVC architecture, how can they use it properly? Because there is a way, there is a reason why MVC architecture has been given, and you can use MVC architecture and you create an application.
Yeah.
So how to really use that properly?
Okay, so first of all, let us talk about MVC. What does MVC actually mean? So MVC stands for model, view, and control. Those three are loosely coupled, but at the same time they are strongly bonded together. So model, view, and control. If there's a change in controller, it should be directly reflected in the view and also in
Yes.
the control, and vice versa. So generally the frameworks which people are using, or which JavaScripts, and where the problem comes up, they actually have this architecture inbuilt in them. But mostly what people find confusing is they think that they can write monolithic code. Monolithic code, I mean, I can specify the JavaScript and HTML in the same file. So like the traditional web pages, in a single web page, I write HTML and then also write the JavaScript and everything.
Exactly.
So that thing needs to be avoided, because when we are collaborating, we know that I work on some sub part, he works on sub part, and we actually don't know what actually we might be working on. So many times the work gets overlapped. So if we do write code in a separate way, which is called separation of concerns. So he's concerned with something else and I'm concerned with something else. The JavaScripts are independent. The user model is independent, and say the merchandise model is independent.
Yeah.
So it's mostly modularizing the code.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think it means more productive. You can work parallelly, and it means it
Yeah,
will
that-
take less time to develop some code in this.
And that enables quite a lot of engineers to collaborate together.
Yeah, and also it keeps your code dry.
Yeah.
And don't repeat yourself, which it stands for. So you reuse parts of code, you do a small change to reflect everything.
So, but mostly you're saying that for tech development efficiency, we are using MVC.
Yeah.
Not there is no it will be much easier if you're following MVC to develop an application. But efficiency wise or performance wise,
No,
There's not
so
much impact.
we're talking about two different things. So MVCs, first we talked about the platform, the users which the platform is giving you as a MVC platform. So that would be utilized the way you write the code. But we were also talking about the coding practices or the coding ethics. So MVC architecture comes in play when we are developing big applications. So as you might have worked with PHP, in PHP for every page you need to write the whole processes, whole methods again and again and again.
Yeah.
So when MVC model came into picture, it reduced the code. It also reduced the maintainability, and also it is quick because it is lightweight.
And then it helps you make single page applications too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mostly in UI5 also we have a single page application, but there are many files, view and controllers.
Yeah.
So mostly I have seen that people are using MVC.
So exactly, one part of your DOM or view would be controlled by another controller, and another part would be controlled by another controller. So you can actually keep them separate. Only the part that this view is concerned with is kept in this controller. We don't have to expose it to everything that is there in our app. So we are kind of not cluttering the global space.
Yes. So for our viewers, I think you can ask the live questions, which is present in ui5cn.com /page/live. You can go to the home page. You will be having a link to go to this live video. So we will take any live questions which you have within the discussion or within like when you are learning the technologies. You are seeing some of the issues or some of the scenarios you want to understand much about. We have a panel of experts here, so we can take it forward. So next question, which I think this is from Vardha and Mayank. This is mostly related to UI5. Like, what is the difference between a formatter and a factory function? So what is happening is like, in UI5 we have this concept of formatter. For example, you have a UI, and for example, I have to mention a currency. Then if I give the number 100, so the currency should be mentioned 10, comma, or maybe I give him number 10,000. Okay, so the currency should be 10, comma, thousand. So comma should be added, and then the currency should be added, and all these things. So when you are having a formatter in the UI, it helps you to represent the data in a more precise way. For example, you can have a control. You just have a normal data, like a string maybe. The 10,000 or 1 million is given in a string or maybe as a number. Then you understand in a UI level that okay. I can convert this and show it in a like 1, comma 0, 0, 0, comma 0, 0, 0. So how you want to represent those data in those scenarios, we use formatter. And factory function is a concept in UI5 libraries which will allow you to create multiple of one template. For example, I think in when you do data binding and you bind it to a particular element, you want that okay, I need to create a list now for the same structure. So at that time, factory function is what internally called to create multiple replica of that thing and put it in the UI level. I think in Angular we also have a similar concept.
Yeah, I think we have used it. So in hashtags, ng repeat is for the factory function where it is looped around in a across an array. And the other thing is which was the other one?
Formatter.
The formatter. The formatter we used filters. So we had to parse date.
So we get a Unix timestamp.
Corresponding to it, yeah.
So it can't really be shown to the users just like that. So we need to format it, and we can use something similar to formatter. That's filter in AngularJS.
And also we used it for hashtags. So whenever a user enters a text and if there's a hashtag present, so the hashtag should be identified. So we wrote specific directives and filters for that, right?
Exactly.
So we have a question. I want to know about combination of Angular and SAP HANA. So I think we have Angular expert, and let me try to collaborate and come up with an answer. Basically SAP HANA is an on-memory system where you can really have fast queries. We have, for example, there is a lot of data, and you want to get an analytics. So for that you need to store data on a database and getting data out of a lot of huge databases. Can take a lot of time. So to save time, like SAP has introduced this SAP HANA. It's a wonderful backend. So all the data are stored in memory. So in the real time basis. So
cache.
yeah, cache latency is not there. So the queries can be done faster. Real time ERPs or enterprise application can be run. So the question is, I want to know about the combination of Angular and SAP HANA. So normally what is happening nowadays is you use SAP HANA as a backend and you use SAP UI5 as an front-end application,
Okay.
and you get the data from REST APIs,
Okay.
and then you show it in your UI5 application. People can also use AngularJS. I think it's a
So AngularJS is basically agnostic to what backend you are using. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
exactly.
depend on what kind of API endpoints you have or what kind of server you have. So it can be used with any backend technology or framework that you can think of.
Yeah, exactly. And since there's two-way binding, so if you can get queries on the fly,
Yes.
just like Google's auto suggest or Facebook suggestions.
Yeah, exactly. I think SAP HANA, we have this capability to expose data on REST APIs. So
Yeah,
I think this is like loose coupling. So I think you can tell us more about loose coupling.
Yeah.
So you have this back end and you have this front end. So they are replaceable actually. So therefore we call it loose coupling.
Yeah, so REST APIs are more can be used in general. So whenever I want to do a query in a filter, so if there's SAP HANA, as you say, there's low latency and the results are very fast. So this whole setup, the loose coupling, so there's the server layer as an independent layer and Angular as an independent layer. And as you said, it's agnostic. So
what is agnostic?
So it's server independent.
Okay,
so
okay.
say I don't want to use SAP HANA right now.
Okay,
I
okay.
think I have made a better querying server.
Yeah, it's very difficult because SAP HANA is quite nice. Okay.
Okay.
But then, you can change your backend and
Yes.
front end changes.
Yes.
Because now the thing is that when we have use cases, sometimes, for example, I have data in SAP ERP or maybe some other backends. So, like migrating the data is a big issue. So, if I'm using the same vendor, then it is much easier to migrate all the data to SAP HANA. And then, but I want to use something which my developers are comfortable with.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I
And-
mean, you can always realize that for a certain specific answer, there's a different way. So you can actually make it as a microservice, a different microservice for
Yes.
that exact query. So SAP HANA is good for latency and for in-memory saving, right?
Yeah.
But your server need might not be just that. Your server need might be computing. Your
Yes.
server need might be something else. So you
But
can
I think,
create
all
microservices,
this,
the loosely coupled services, which can do that, the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's much good to really because now even for many enterprise applications, not only SAP, the other vendors as well, they are kind of what they are doing is they are having this loose couple model.
Yes.
That is fashion nowadays.
Yeah.
So you're free to use whatever front end.
Yes,
Basically, the option are provided on the front end, because normally what happens in enterprise, I will tell you, when you're a customer of a vendor, then you want to just stick with that vendor because of it becomes very complicated. There are so many systems which are integrated, so you want to stick with the back end with the same vendor. But the front end, you think that okay, I am getting a good developer on AngularJS or React.js,
exactly. Yes.
Backbone or UI5, and can I create an application, or you want to have an Android app or use some of the hybrid apps and
Yes.
just integrate the backend. But I think it's very doable, right? Angular with REST APIs to
Yes,
SAP.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I mean,
As I said.
everyone is moving towards that, making it as loosely coupled as possible.
Loosely coupled. Yeah, I think it's now become the market norms.
Yeah, exactly, and it's convenient. I mean, it makes sense because technologies is changing. The data is coming in at a very fast rate, so the business models, the business requirements keep on changing.
So, but how will you do it? For example, if I give you just the REST APIs, for example, I have multiple feature exposed as a REST API.
So we can just make a call to those API endpoints, and we'll just get the data, and we can use the data as we require in the front end.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so it's but then how? For example, in OData, normally in how in NetViewer Gateway in SAP, one more product of there, SAP's product is there. So what we do is we query from the URL itself.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm querying my database with a REST call that give me all the records.
Yeah, exactly. You can do the same in AngularJS too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can make an HTTP request.
But then if I want to ask the server that can I get 10 records, top 10 records, or maybe.
Yeah, so you can build the URL in that dynamic way, right?
So-
You can
so-
ask, you can pass parameters to the get request, and you can get
In
the
that
details in
specific
that
way.
And then after that, the Angular's feature, the digest loop and the dirty watching comes in.
Okay.
So whenever I get a response, as soon as I get a response of the server, I would change the data on the front end to reflect those changes.
Yeah. So Ericsson is saying thank you and thank you, Ericsson. So okay. So let's take another question. We have a lot of questions to cover. I think one of the like this is the best question I will say. I have to put it here. Like app, like you hate it when apps are slow. So like how can we make our app faster? So I think this is I will ask it to the Ved because Ved has experience on it. How can I make an UI5 app or any other app faster?
Okay, so if you're talking just about web pages, so the major part in web pages, in JavaScript pages, HTML pages, it's loading the libraries. So obviously we need libraries, we need CSS and everything. So there are many ways you can do it. You can just run your own server and host the files there. Or the other way is using CDN. CDN is content delivery network. So you host your web page, you host your content, the static content. If there is an image, there's a JavaScript library which you want to call, and you host it there. So the advantage of CDN being, if you're in India, the fetching from the Indian servers would be a lot more faster than fetching from US servers. If you're in US in a certain region, then the file should be fetched from the nearest server possible. So that's what CDN gives you. CDN gives you local availability.
Yes. The one thing
Oh.
which we also I think have is in the app. I was making this IoT app also. Few people asked me because they were from different background. So what I think this is related to mostly JavaScript. So you have to just bear with us. So what they ask me that when I'm loading the application, UF application, there's so many things which is loaded, which is not required by me.
Yeah.
So can I do something just
Yeah,
to
so
load?
what happens is whenever your browser sees an HTML page and whenever it encounters a JavaScript script, then it waits for it to load and then it goes ahead. And if I have n number of JavaScript, then the browser would load all those n JavaScript and then continue with the display of DOM. But what you can do is something called lazy loading.
Yeah.
So HTML5 kind of supports lazy loading, and to do that you can use the attribute async in your script tag, and that would load your JavaScript asynchronously, and that would make your app pretty fast.
So,
Then-
for example, I have a one JavaScript file which is a core library,
Yeah.
and I have like multiple files which is like handling maybe different part of the library.
Yes.
So, like I just will load this main library. Like in a UI5, we have SAP core library, and then there are like other libraries for individual elements like list or maybe visualization, which I might not be using the first page.
Exactly.
So, but then in AngularJS we have something similar to that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what he was talking about.
AngularJS, we have Angular route, we have Angular animation.
Okay, so like
so
how
different libraries.
you just name that library and say, okay, I need this for now.
Yes, exactly. We provide a path to that library and we say that load this library before proceeding to display the web page and do all the stuff that you need to do.
But then it can happen that you might not have called the library and some code might be missing and then error will
And
be shown.
in that case, the browser would certainly show you an error.
Okay,
saying
sure.
That this error occurred. And
But then like no, this is like manually you are understanding that okay, I need all these components
yeah.
and I need to call like in the sequence, but automatically is it not possible?
Yeah, so in Angular, there's another feature. I mean, not for external libraries as such, because external libraries, if you specify that I want this library, then it would call it. But in Angular, if I want to load certain controllers or certain service, it won't initialize the service unless it's explicitly
Exactly.
asked for.
Okay.
So that reduces the overhead burden of memory management.
Yeah, I think lazy loading is something which even I have used in UI5. So
Yeah.
there's so much library, like it's like in MBs, which is like required. Like now it is reduced, but then there's so many things which.
But then AngularJS is a pretty small file. If you're talking about jQuery, then this
Yeah.
would make a lot
Exactly.
of sense.
So UI5 is like jQuery where we have automatic controllers, like components, elements, and then like I don't want all of them to really load. Then I can have a lazy loading done where I just get invite my core libraries in some of the specific parts,
Yeah.
and then we just go through that. Then we load the core libraries, and later on I can add other when required.
Modularity.
Yeah. So we have a few more questions. When we are using I2C, I2C with Arduino, do we have any limitation for connecting number? But then, as you said, Vipul, that I2C.
Yes.
So I'm not much aware about I2C. So there's a question which we have, and do have any limitation? How does it affect Arduino for I2C? I2C, like I think it's what they're trying to say is that, first of all, tell us what is I2C?
I2C is inter-integrated circuit communication. Like we are communicating with different, the n number of controllers. So,
Okay.
like we use I2C. If we'll talk about I2C, it is very much common transport which we are using in our Android phones. Let's take one example. We have one processor that is a quad core or octa core processor. It is, and we have different adapters. We have Wi-Fi adapter. We have a BT adapter. We have a certain NFC adapters and controllers and sensors. So many sensors are sitting on your phone, like GPS sensor and accelerometer and all those things. So all those are controllers. So your processor need to get the data from all of your controllers. So the processor cannot have n number of transports.
Yes.
So I2C gives us the power, like we can connect n number of slaves with the same processor using two wires.
So, like, how does it work if all of the sensors are at work at the same time? Just
I think it's a proxy kind of a thing. So
Okay.
it gives the IP.
So does it go synchronously to the processor? Like, first this will be processed and then this will be processed.
Yeah, actually, in this model, we have the processor is the master, plays the role of the master, and all the other end devices will plays the role of the slave.
Okay.
And we have dedicated address for all the slaves. So
Okay.
master will send the signal to communicate to the slave. So means we have some three lines in I2C. One is ground, common ground to all of them,
Okay.
and one is the data line, and one is the clock.
Okay.
Okay. So we raise the clock down. Raising the clock down means it will tell the slave that I'm going to communicate with you. After that,
Okay.
I'll send the address. So to which address it will map to the particular slave. The slave will communicate with the master.
Okay.
So in that fashion, we talk to.
So
the
that is
slave.
like a protocol, like not protocol, a structure of connecting.
Yes.
And then basically what they want to know is there a limitation? And I think it is mostly a structure, which is standard structure. Right?
Yeah, actually, the limitation is like, as I've already told, like we are identifying the slaves with their address.
Okay.
So the address bit, if it is a 8-bit combination, so how much maximum combination we can have, that much maximum slaves we can connect to the
Okay.
master. So
raise
the
to
limitation is that one. So but reaching to that 2 to the power 8
It is-
combination
it's
is
huge, yeah.
very huge.
Exactly.
So means in real time world it's really not easy physically
Yeah, exactly.
to create that much number of
Theoretically,
slaves.
we can do a lot of things, but
Yes.
I think 2 to the power 8 is a big number itself.
Yes.
So
that
what is the
one
maximum
limitation.
address bit that Arduino
8
supports?
bits.
8-bit.
8
It's an 8-bit processor.
Because it contains 8-bit registers, so
Okay.
8-bit address.
Yes, so I think
And a controller,
Mangesh,
one of the
thank
six,
you.
one of the 6 or 8 controllers controls this IPC.
One of the 6.
So, but he also
It is a
asks,
master device,
how
which
does
will
it
control
affect
the
the
slaves.
Arduino?
Okay.
Out of 6, if suppose you are having some 6 controllers, 6 Arduino, let's take Arduino controller, you have 6 Arduino controllers. So you will dedicatedly make one controller as a master and others as a slave.
Okay.
Okay.
And like, will it have any effect on Arduino?
Means what kind of affect you?
Like,
Limitation is one of things, but this is a generic question which is asking: does it affect the Arduino? Like no, like
connecting so many devices to one Arduino. Does
No,
it affect
Arduino
the
is actually
performance or
a
anything?
very capable device, and it can handle the and I2C transport works really well actually. On
Yeah, I have seen. I think yesterday he was showing me entire Arduino made in a breadboard. I was really surprised. I think we created we took some selfie also. It's a real thing, and then I will post it on Facebook after this meeting. And then I think line follower made by Arduino. So
It's really crazy doing work on hardware center.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of time, but yeah, means it's
Very
interesting
nice.
and nice.
So now, so you can ask us any question related to AngularJS, JavaScript, UI technologies, IoT, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, also Python. You know Python. Good experience of working data visualization D3 in UI5cn.com. You will be directed to a link on top you can find, and you can just comment out there, and we will take that question. So now this is time for our tech war. So this is a very nice war. So what we have done is we have each few boxes. So each one has their name on it, and
Okay,
what
that's my
we are
box.
going. Okay,
This
so
one.
your box is this is your box.
Yeah, this is my box.
So what we will do is we will write some of the questions, which is like no one know how what we are going to write, and we will put it in their box, and then they have to collect one chit, and based on that question, like or that technology, we will be asking some of the questions. So it will be kind of a surprise question. Let's see who knows more. We're representing a company here, okay? So okay, I will just give some of the chit. You can just take some of this. So I will just. Give you some pink, and it will be quite fun. And or you can ask us question. We will take question in between as well. So if you have any question related to our courses or in general, then we will be happy to help.
I will hide and write.
Okay, do whatever.
As if it's going to matter. You're going to open it anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, so I will also add on. Okay, whose box is that? Okay, this is mine. I'm not putting question on my box.
I have written.
So you just put the. Okay, you don't see my question.
This is your box.
Yeah, this is my box.
This is VIP for the club.
Yeah, I want a JS box.
Okay, my box. So you wait 1 second. Don't see my question. Don't see my question. Okay. So this is what happens when 4 geeks meet together. So are we done? No, I think I have only written one. Come on. Give me your box.
Where's Manasvi's?
No, Manasvi still. Okay.
This is on the edges. Yeah.
Okay. So we are putting chits and writing a technology there which might be used in their startup or maybe their company, and they have to answer question based on this. So let's see who knows. Okay. And where is your box? Your box. Okay, I need to also put something in Ved's box.
And where's Vipul's box?
I'm done. Loopholes.
Okay, so my last chit. So everyone is creating 3 chits, and it will be fun.
Should say.
Okay. So you have 2 blues here. Okay, anyway. Okay, so shuffle. So everyone has one chance to collect any one chit, and based on that chit, we will ask question. Let's see. You will get to know how it is done actually, but it will be very informative as well. Okay, so who will be the first one? Okay, Ved, you are sitting on the on that side.
That's hardly fair.
Okay. So pick up a chit. No, we are prepared with questions.
Okay.
Let's see if someone is asking something. Okay.
Okay, so the chat I have received is it says scaling.
Okay, scaling.
Yeah, so scaling is a pretty vast topic if you ask me. I mean,
Because we were discussing about SAP HANA, and then like,
Yeah,
no, this
I
is Okay, because I think in your Bytens app itself, you are targeting like a big audience. So
Yeah.
someone has like who is the? It's me actually. So let me
Okay.
ask some question about scaling.
Mhm.
So I have a scenario where I have a data set of 40 years, weather data set,
Mhm.
and I want to run an analytics there.
Okay.
So, what kind of a backend you are going to use?
Okay. So first of all, let's talk about if you have 40 years of data and assuming that the sensor was running the whole time. So every minute or every second of the data is being captured. So easily that would be in TBs of data.
Exactly, yeah.
Tens or hundreds of TB. So obviously there would be a hardware limitation because a single system can't handle it. So that's where horizontal scaling comes in.
So, what is horizontal scaling?
Yeah. So there are two types of scaling. One is vertical scaling and one is horizontal scaling. So if you want to know it in layman's terms, say this is a system. If I add another RAM, increase the hard disk and all, that's vertical scaling. And if I add 2 or 3 more computers, then it's horizontal scaling.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the master slave setup which he talked about.
So everyone is linking with it.
Yeah, so everyone is linking it. So as you say, if I had to run analytics on the 50 years of data, so if you want to see what exactly happened, so what a single system won't do it, right? So the query would be distributed to the all the systems, to all the slaves which are in our system. They would do the query independently, and then it would be reduced to a single system where it would just make sense of all the individual queries.
So like a map and reduce
Yeah,
or
so-
suggestion.
Yeah, kind of map
Map
and
and reduce.
Yeah, that's where they all came in, right? Because
Okay.
at one point there's a hardware limitation.
That
Ah.
is horizontal scaling you did because you distributed to n number of
Yeah,
systems.
distributed
and-
animal system.
So
The problem you subdivided and you divided into, you give it to all the system and then they kind of work on a small set of the data. They operated on it.
Yeah.
You are combining the answer and like one guy is saying, okay, let me combine it and give
So
it a final
yeah, so
answer.
if you again come in terms of the SAP HANA, if SAP HANA is again a in-memory system, right? So many times what happens is I want to run the query again, if I want to know the average data again, then the same query doesn't need to be run, right? So all the distributed system would have a cache or
Yeah.
yeah, so they would remember
In
what
Hadoop,
the
I think
result
it's
was.
very common, right?
Yeah, in Hadoop it is very common.
So like there's many versions of Hadoop. Spark is there,
Yeah.
like the most popular one I guess.
Yeah.
So you would be probably using Spark.
No, we are not using Spark. We are using Node.js in the distributed.
Node.js.
Yeah. So the thing is, ours is not data intensive or CPU intensive thing. Ours
It's
is
data
more.
intensive, but it's not computational intensive,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's more input output bound, not computational
Mhm.
intensive.
I got one doubt, like as you are saying about scaling. So one is horizontal scaling and one is vertical scaling.
Mhm.
So what will be the preferable and what will be good, like a vertical scaling or the horizontal
Okay,
scaling?
so if you have a lot of money, then maybe vertical scaling. But no, in general, it's horizontal scaling because the horizontal scaling number of getting additional instances is a lot more cheaper and there's low point of failure. So say a system dies, it is a system. So
Yes.
the other slaves would take care of it. But if I do a vertical scaling, then a single system needs to be always alive, always present.
Yeah, and in horizontal scaling, you are adding additional processor also and processing capabilities also.
Yeah.
But in vertical scaling, the processor and the capabilities will be same. You are just increasing the memory size and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So I think you give answer. You gave a good answer, and I think it's my turn. Maybe Vipul's turn.
turn.
So Vipul's turn because I'm on the line. Okay, we are all ready. So Manas, you can ask one question to him.
Yeah.
Make sure he is not able to answer it.
All is fair.
Yeah.
and I got sensors.
Sensors.
Sensors. So, well, you can think of a scenario where, say, I have a lab and I want it to be super clean. Because, okay, if I have a lab, I want it to be super clean. You may call it OCD. But say I have some impurities there, maybe a poisonous gas. Okay. So, how would you make use of those sensors to actually prevent people from going into that lab. Like I can prevent people from coming into my lab if it contains poisonous gases.
So the means you want your lab to be super clean as your lab to be should be super clean. Yeah, for that one, I'll take up example of the human structure. We have a lot of sensors. For smelling the gas, we have nose. For light, we have eyes. So in electronics and in robotics, most of the time we correlate the system, the embedded system, with our structure, the human structure. So I'll take up the same thing. So I'll correlate it with my human structure. So with our nose, we can smell there's something bad smell, but
Exactly.
poisonous gas can.
You will how do you smell
If you smell it, you're gone. That's the last
We
thing you
don't
smell.
want to put ourselves into that condition.
Exactly.
So what we can do, we can design some transducer for that specific gas. Transducers is nothing, it is a combination of sensors and which give the electrical data out of that.
Okay.
A sensor can be means it will take the physical environment and it will change accordingly.
Okay.
And if we are getting the electrical data out of that, then it is a transducer. So we will build some transducer and we will design some transducer according to that particular gas, so that our system can take up that as an input,
Okay.
that there's something poisonous in the environment and it will alarm the system.
So like, do we have to program it for every individual poisonous gas, or like it can just identify a variety of them?
It totally depends on the capability of your sensor. If your transducer or your sensor is able to detect the difference between the gases,
Okay.
then you will have a large number of data like saying it is that one, that gas, it is that gas, and we can alarm our system according to that one. But if your transducer is designed specifically for that particular gas, then it will detect only that gas.
Okay.
Okay, so nice answer. Okay, anyway, so this is my turn, please. Simple question. Okay, so pink sleep. This is kind
Pink
of
slip.
different meaning. Okay. Dynamic CSS. Do you mean media query?
Yeah, I mean media.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, for when we were developing Android app, the major issue which we were facing was creating CSS for different devices, for different device sizes, for different heights and
So
widths.
just for like
I'm using tablet.
like before we say that we are facing CSS problem with Android, we should tell them that we are making hybrid app.
Anyway, okay. Anyways, I mean, we were making a app for mobile screens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. So the design problem was: is it worth it to make another app, or rather, should we have made a website or web app and then use the same web app in the mobile?
Yes, I think it's a good question because why I'm saying it, because see,
Yeah.
it totally depends on who is your user. For example,
Yeah, exactly.
our website, see, uf5scene.com, we could have built an app, iOS or Android app. We said no, and we could have, but we are not building it because most of the people, when they watch a video in a mobile app, they only need the offline feature. No, for our user, when imagine you are watching a technical video in your mobile, and it is so small you cannot really see what you are writing in the screen itself, how you are
Yeah,
coding and
exactly,
all.
exactly.
So it mostly depend on who your user is.
Okay.
If there are a lot of user who are very used to mobile is used there, they prefer mobile way of operating on those problem statements. For example, it's a chat app. You cannot have a website, right? You have to
Yeah.
have that app
Standalone
given to
app,
them.
yeah.
So if your problem statement, your user in that particular use case want are used to use mobile for your problem statement, then it is worth it to spend time and money for building an app. Else you can just write a simple dynamic media query, and then it's a little hectic to do it, but not as hectic as designing a separate app because there are so many devices nowadays.
Okay, of course.
So that is the main reason. It depends on who your user is, and are they going to use majorly your application on a website or on your mobile devices. So based on that, you take that call. For us, I think mostly our users are coming on websites, so we didn't go for the app, and that is like the choices based on your user. It's all boils down to your customer. We are doing it because of
Yeah.
our users,
Yeah,
of
if
course.
we'll make some app on IoT, then for sure we'll make it for mobile applications.
Yeah.
Uh, because you can control your own created world with your mobile phone and it's on your hand.
Yeah, I think we are getting one more question from Mahesh. I think Vipul is very hot now. We all the questions are coming from Vipul. The question is, do we are able to control a high current motor like three-phase motor using Arduino? I think you covered this on the course, right?
Actually, I covered controlling stepper motor
Okay,
using
stepper.
Arduino, and he's asking to control the three-phase
Okay, yeah.
induction motor. So, yes, Mahesh, that is possible. Actually, there are two systems. Like one is our electrical motor, and one is the Arduino. That is the control unit of that one. So, we have to means in our what is that one in our motors, that induction motors, we have to energize the starter coil, then it will start rotating. So for energizing that one, we can generate some 5-volt signal from the Arduino, and we have to amplify that signal using the relay, high power relays. Or if your application requires only DC power, then we can go for amplifiers, the
Okay.
transistors.
Transistors.
But here we need to run a live AC motor, so we can use relays, high power relays, and we can flip those relays using Arduino signals.
Amazing. So I think you answered the second question also.
Yeah, I think we are missing the major question. How does an induction motor start?
I think only Indian people will be able to, like, people who have watched the movie. But you're like, no.
You should inform people. Right?
Yeah, no. I think let's go with the Manas way. Let's resume our. I think
I want to do
Okay, you can do it
Okay,
later.
Let's see what I
Okay.
have got.
So
So it says hybrid app.
So, Ved, do you want to ask a question?
Do you seem like you?
Okay. No, you can
It's
go
a
ahead.
very
because I
vast
already-
topic to be true.
Okay,
Like,
hybrid app. Okay. So basically, because I think how the same. Imagine, for example, I have a problem statement, and according to my user have a lot of people, and then like they are like used to use iOS, Android. A lot of multiple devices are getting used there.
Yes.
But these users, they are very specific. That okay, if for example, normally people who are very keen, okay, are my buttons working and all things. No? They are very picky audience, and
Okay.
when you go for a hybrid app, sometimes you're not able to really tailor made a solution, right? You're using any hybrid app. That will you pick a hybrid app for this picky audience? Because mostly hybrid apps, sometimes you cannot really get that native feeling like Android or iOS. But then there are many devices, so you cannot really use all the particular native applications. So what you will do? That's a dilemma, no?
Um, well, I guess that is a subjective question because if my user is very concerned about the kind of experience they get while using the app, then I would probably go for native app right now because it gives you the feels. Yeah. But a really good written hybrid app can also you would not be able to see the difference between the hybrid app and the native app. Like if you have written it like really nicely.
So which framework which you will pick? Any?
Um, as of now, I have come across two. Like I have got to work with two frameworks. One was Ionic and the other is React.js. So, my personal preference is Ionic as of now. But yeah, those are the two that I would use. I would suggest.
Okay, what's the difference between both of them?
The difference between both of
I
them,
mean, which you felt was the deciding factor.
well, I have more experience in Ionic. I'm a bit more comfortable with it. That was the major deciding factor. But um, if we see about the future, I think React is doing a really good job.
Yeah, but there's also Ionic 2 coming along, right?
I think mostly
Yeah.
people are using Cordova this framework because I think I have
Yeah,
used Cordova as
they
well.
make use of Cordova. So what happens in hybrid app is uh, you get something called a web view in your phone.
Yeah.
That is basically a browser without a navigation panel. So you can't really navigate to different URLs, but you make your users navigate to different URLs using the buttons and other interactions. So the the app gets rendered in the web view, and that's how you use. And Cordova helps you do that. And these
These are
framework
Cordova's
make use
libraries, right?
of yeah, make use of Cordova to actually get this.
So those, for example, it seems like we have a lot of libraries of this Cordova and Ionic, and we are kind of calling those libraries and it's a wrapper kind of thing. So on top of inside there's a HTML thing, but outside there is a wrapper of native Cordova. So it is like
Yes.
protecting.
No, so I mean the major difference between Ionic and React is Ionic creates a web view, so it renders HTML components as such, and it tries to mimic the native app.
Yes.
But in React, the JavaScript is a layer. It actually triggers the native components.
Okay.
So I mean the proxy between it tries to emulate it, and the Ionic and the React takes the control from JavaScript, but it actually shows the native buttons and native UI on
Okay,
the
okay. So,
mobile.
okay, yes, yes. Because I think when we.
But React is what uses like virtual DOM to.
I think there's a native React and React.js. There's a difference. here.
Okay, there's native React
हाँ,
and React.js.
हाँ, so React.js is a library. I think it's by
React
Facebook.
JS.
Okay.
Second popular to angular.js. I think we should create a course on React.js.
Yeah,
Sure,
so
yeah, very great one.
Facebook actually started it. Facebook
Yeah.
was really tired by Android getting out so many devices.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah.
So they thought that we would
Native
create
React,
something which we would just develop on React. It would be available for Android and also for iOS. I mean that's the major advantage which we haven't discussed about hybrid apps.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I think what is happening is now, if you see the world also technical world, then I think lately seeing a lot of people want to learn React.js. And then I think AngularJS is still very hot. They forget the codes actually. So, but people are seeing that okay, React is also powerful and very simple to use. Some of the concept like JFX and all are very easy to use in React itself. And native React, the applications, as you say, it use the native device buttons
so-
and all. So the app really emulates very nicely to
Exactly.
the real.
You won't
app
know the
now.
difference if it's-
Exactly. That is the main point. So at the end, we will take few more questions, and then we will kind of finally wrap up with the trends for next year, 2017, and wish Happy New Year. Okay, so I think one question for our JavaScript. This question is asked in UI5 course, and it's like a very popular question and very commonly faced. When I was accessing local service and writing a JAX service, my Google browser was not able to run properly. So, like when I'm using a JAX calls within my local host and using Google Chrome for it, what are the problems which?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So I think we are talking about CORS. So CORS is CORS,
CORS.
Cross Origin Resource Sharing. So because of security reasons and all, many times by default, the servers or the backends actually have put up a security architecture which says that don't allow access of these resources from unknown origins or from these origins, specific origins. So you specify that allow the browser to access these resources from this origin. So it's a funny thing. I mean, I can relate incidents with us. So
Yeah.
when we started out developing together, I mean, very initially when we just started out learning and exploring things, so we made a small basic app which had a backend and a front end. So we wrote our first REST API call. So I wrote the API call and I tested with Postman. It was working. I tested with browser. It was working. He was able to access some resources via the API calls, and those were working. So when we tried to integrate it, it was not working. I mean, I wrote it in a perfect way possible. I tested it. He wrote his code in perfect way possible. He tested it. So we were having this argument. No, you messed it up. No, I messed it up. Then we realized, oh, there's something known as cause.
Okay, yeah.
So developers, I mean, starting out should be.
Yeah, nobody tells you that.
Yeah.
But I think
you don't really find it anywhere.
Yeah,
in the
you can
tutorials.
also do one thing, like you can start your browser in web security disabled mode. If you
Yeah.
want to really use a AJAX call with a local, access to a local server, you can use like that with web security disabled mode.
Yeah.
There's a command line argument, you can use it and open your web browser on that, or else don't use cross. So I think server level also you mentioned.
Yeah, if you're making just normal websites and not that secure, I mean, security incentive.
just for
that's
testing
it.
purpose, if you're making,
Yeah.
then you can open
Yeah,
it.
if you're making it for applications, if you're deploying it on many things, and it is kind of insecure.
Yes. So I think hopefully we have answered a lot of questions. I think it was fun.
Yeah,
So
great.
before going, we want to just get the trends from the individual experts for 2017. What to expect? What the technologies will be like really boom or will be hot. So Ved, we'll start with you. What do you think?
Why me?
Okay.
So the technology which I mean, observing, I think the container service is really going big. So containers are you can say kind of Dockers. So we talked about master and slave configuration. We talked about how I can scale the servers. So these technologies help me deploy the servers or the databases across many clusters, across many instances. So say you have a requirement. I mean, this is not exactly the use case of a container, but it is a requirement again. So many times, say on a Black Friday or some specific days when you know the traffic is going to be highest. So in that days, you want your server to automatically scale out. And on some days, you know there's not much requirement, so you want the server to shrink down. So that can be done via instances. So you can add load balancers, you can enable watchers and alerts, and instantly deploy more instances to vertically scale. So using container services and all, you can set it up in a very easy and tidy environment. So just writing a code, just deploying a new version of it, deploying more instances, reducing them and all.
Yes,
That's pretty
so
nice.
yeah, I think I was also learning about Docker, and basically I was using it because if you have many developers, they don't have to really create their DevOps is one of the
Yeah,
very hot
exactly,
topic. You're
exactly.
talking about DevOps.
Yeah.
DevOps is very hot, and people who have that skill set now are getting jobs very easily, or
Yeah.
they are like not unemployed.
Yeah, so it makes easier. I mean, you just write a line. Yeah,
Exactly.
I need 5 computers.
Yeah, so I think that is the main reason. To set up an environment, it is much easier if you
Yeah.
know Docker. You just kind of very easily get the Docker and just like extract it, and you have the development environment. Right?
Exactly.
So Vipul, prediction for 2017.
Yeah, actually, I like the question of Manasvi as he wants to make his lab more secure.
Okay.
Actually, it is a need of today's. It is a need of today's era. We want to live in a secure world. And we want to enhance the living life. And so means how we can do that? We can do that putting more and more sensors across us and integrating the things like it will make our life easier and more livable and more safer also. So from my side, I think means the technological development in sensors will be more trending as IoT is coming up in the market, and we are trying to integrate more and more number of things, and we are trying to get more and more number of datas. So the sensor technology, how precisely the sensor is taking data, how precisely it is processing that data and giving to the control unit. So that will be the trending.
Yeah, I think I've seen one video by this Elon Musk, and they have used this new tiles in home. I don't know if you have seen like that video. So basically, those tiles are like sensors based on like I don't know exactly how like what is there, but what is happening in those tiles if you put in top of roof, they are very strong, and then they are automatically having this photosensor capability, so they can absorb heat and then convert into electricity, like renewable energy. So people are already going crazy, about it.
Yes,
And
most.
I think this is kind of going to happen within 2017.
Yeah, IoT is
We'll
going
see.
to be big.
It is already getting big, and then I think connecting all the tiles together,
Yes.
making energy, renewable energy, and all. I think it's a big thing. It's not.
So I think there's also voice recognition thing. So I can make a smart room by just placing a mic or
Microphone.
IoT there, which controls everything.
Yes.
So I say dim the lights, so it will just dim the
Yeah, I have seen the few of the people in NASCOM building. They have this company, and then the product is that they just have to say that thing, and the voice recognition will pitch up and it will do the same thing. The issue with voice recognition is even if your device is 99.9% accurate, still there is a 0.1% problem. You have seen by changing one word or one letter, everything will actually change.
So much technology is also harmful. So
Yes.
I will tell
So
you.
that's why I told like more technological enhancement and development in sensors so that it will be more precise and it'll
Exactly. Precision is key here.
So because of that, I got caught once. So I was in a building. I didn't know it was high tech and it had motion sensors. So I was messing around pretty late in the night. So,
We can
so the lights were off and we just sneaked in. Nobody noticed us. Then we were walking around. I think there
The
was
sensor noticed you.
exactly. Those are open corridors, and we were talking. We were thinking, and the security guard had a. He thought that somebody's there, so he asked you, "Is there anybody there?" So we just got down and we were walking on our knees and our arms, and the lights got switched on. The whole corridor. And I saying, "What the hell?" So there were motion sensors. there.
Okay.
That is the power of sensors.
So yeah, I think some of the colleges in India, like IIT, right? So they are smart people,
Fortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, final two things, which is prediction.
I
from
think
Manasi.
knees and arms will be trending also.
We are making robotic ordering. Don't worry about it. So Manasvi,
So,
prediction.
well, I think Angular 2 is going to be big the coming year because majorly Angular 1 was not very mobile friendly, but as they have redesigned Angular 2, like wrote it from scratch again, they have made it quite mobile friendly, and well, we can really use it to make hybrid apps, and I think hybrid apps will be the next big thing because you don't have to write for different platforms all the time. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's true because I think even for me, I don't really want to write 10 devices.
Yeah, exactly. We have
and,
so many.
Media query writing is like too much, so it's always good for using a hybrid app. Okay, so what for me the prediction for 2017, what I believe is we are going in an era where the network speed is now with the introduction of Geo and like so many service provider, the speed and internationally speaking, there are so many service provider. And then internet speed is not a barrier anymore to poorest countries anywhere. And what is happening with the network speed is people are mostly now focused on video kind of content. So I see that there will be a lot of advancement on video annotations and video based, for example, previously images where or GIF, you can see there are a lot of people who are kind of using GIF mostly. So in web, we can see that embedding videos, annotation over videos. Even I think our company in UI5 and we are experimenting on videos. How can we make it interactive with annotation and animations?
Experimenting with the video.
Exactly. So here itself, you can see we are going live broadcast. So video-based experimentation are really booming up. And if you want to do any innovative projects, you should be working on videos. That's the bottom line. On a very research level as well. So how can not on optimization, but on how can we make the user experience better. So even in UI5 CN, our research team is working on how can we add annotations with animation character, funny animation character in the video itself, which you will see in like coming few months. So I think video is the next big thing. It's the big thing.
I think like advertisement industry is also going to use video now more than
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
So there's like it's still happening. I think not in 2017. So I think we have one more question. Thank you, Karim. So great webinar. So I think we have
Thank
come
you.
to the end of the webinar. So thank you, experts, for being here. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Ajay, for having this
Everyone,
session.
okay. So thank you for making it fun also. So I think it's nice to do every month once, because I think we have a lot of courses.
We can do that.
And I think it will be one of many. So see you
Yeah,
on the next year. Have a wonderful New Year and Merry Christmas. So see you then. We have already exceeded our time limit of 1 hour. So thank you, viewers, for joining in the show. See you in the next year. As it is night in India, good night from here. See you in the next month. Thank you. Bye bye.
thank you.
It's done.
Everything done. मतलब बोल सकते हो.
The mic has been muted.
Mic has been muted.
But mic has been muted, but induction
चौधरी पहल सकता
शर्ट में उतारी हो
मतलब हम लोग अपने से डिस्कस करेंगे, माउंट म्यूट कर दिया.
शर्ट
ओके, ज्यादा कुछ नहीं था.
चलो बियर खोलो
ओके, कैसा हो गया?
इंडक्शन मोटर के लिए
करना है मैं तैयार
उसने बोला क्या? उसने क्या बोला? Like it was very funny. Thank you for answer.
यही तो चाहते हैं.
पब्लिक चाहती है. The nation wants to know. देखते हैं कितना हुआ है यहाँ पे व्यू. How many people were there?
Please stop.
I think I stopped. Yeah.
The video is not stopped.